Welcome to Civil Defiance. We are 4 years on from the events of January 6th, and what was once a single shocking event has been weaponized into a permanent political campaign. It is no longer history. It is an annual narrative management tool used by the power elite to sustain their control and justify the persecution of their political opposition. Ask yourself why, after 4 full years, with trials ongoing, reports published, and tens of thousands of hours of footage collected, this event is still being used to dominate the news cycle. Why does the political class, from the Speaker of the House to the cable news pundit, feel compelled to revisit this every few months with new bombshells and new committees? The answer is simple. January 6th is the Uni-Party's greatest asset. The Uni-Party, that self-serving establishment composed of the political, bureaucratic, and media elite from both sides of the aisle, has a structural need for a permanent existential domestic enemy. They need a threat that is terrifying yet disorganized, a villain that justifies the expansion of the surveillance state, the political use of the Department of Justice, and the delegitimization of any serious populist challenge. January 6th fits this need perfectly. And now the establishment is shifting its strategy, giving us a clear view of the two-sided nature of the Uni-Party. The previous congressional committee was a one-sided affair, designed to confirm a predetermined outcome. Now, House Republicans have voted to establish a new subcommittee to reinvestigate the attack. Their stated goal: to uncover the full truth that is owed to the American people and to challenge the previous report. The Democrats, predictably, are decrying the move as a Republican-led attempt to exonerate and rewrite the narrative. And here, listeners, is the brilliance of the Uni-Party in action. They have created a perpetual motion machine of controversy. The initial one-sided narrative served the Democratic wing of the establishment by providing the perfect boogeyman, the insurrection, that justifies extreme security measures and the ongoing surveillance and prosecution of political opponents. It's the perfect narrative to consolidate power and fund intelligence agencies. The new committee serves the Republican wing of the establishment by giving the appearance of fighting back. It gives the populist base the hope of a counter-narrative, all while keeping the controversy contained within the acceptable controlled chamber of a congressional committee. The true purpose of the new panel is not to release all information to the public. It is to selectively release information that counters the most politically damaging parts of the old narrative, thereby creating a controlled counter-controversy. The end result is not clarity, but perpetual confusion and division. The entire spectacle, the back and forth, the dueling reports, the endless cable news coverage, keeps the populist anger focused on a single event from 4 years ago, preventing that energy from coalescing around the real issues of the day, like the crushing power of the administrative state or the fiscal catastrophe created by both parties. This is the Uni-Party's defense mechanism, the politics of distraction. Let's talk about the footage. We know that the Capitol Police and Congress possess tens of thousands of hours of video from that day. This is the visual key to understanding the full context, the actions of law enforcement, and the intentions of various groups. For years, the vast majority of this footage was treated as a state secret. Why? Because the narrative, the story that the Uni-Party needed to survive, was more important than the truth. When select portions of the footage were finally released to a handful of journalists, what did we see? We saw evidence that directly challenged the official narrative of a purely violent, armed insurrection. We saw police officers opening doors for some groups. We saw police acting as guides for some people inside the Capitol. We saw evidence of poor security planning that had been minimized or ignored in the official reports. Now, I am not excusing the violence or the trespassing, but if the Uni-Party were genuinely interested in the full truth, every hour of that footage would have been released years ago. not just to a select few, but to the American public and every defense attorney involved in the cases. The fact that the release of footage is a slow, politically timed drip, first serving the narrative of the previous committee and now serving the counter narrative of the new committee, proves that the information is being treated as a political tool, not as historical evidence. They are fighting over which version of history will be taught because the history books are the source code for future control. The Uni-Party needs a narrative that justifies the surveillance state, the political weaponization of the DOJ, and the need for a hypervigilant security apparatus. January 6th, as an event, is the perfect source material for that goal. Beyond the halls of Congress, the weaponization is felt most acutely in the judicial system. The sheer scale of the prosecutions is unprecedented for this type of political disorder. We are seeing the establishment's use of the DOJ and the FBI to target, arrest, and seek disproportionately severe sentences for individuals whose primary crime was often trespassing, not violence. Meanwhile, we have seen instances of far more severe violence and widespread property damage during other national protests that resulted in a fraction of the arrests and charges. The difference? Those other events did not challenge the Uni-Party's control over the legislature. January 6th did. The goal here is not justice, it is deterrence and political elimination. By seeking lengthy prison sentences for hundreds of individuals, the Uni-Party sends a chilling message to any future populist movement: challenge our control, and we will destroy your life. The vast resources of the federal government are being used to eliminate the perceived domestic threat, using the events of one day as the justification for a campaign of political persecution. And the media wing of the Uni-Party acts as the enforcement arm, relentlessly portraying every defendant as a terrorist and every challenge to the official narrative as disinformation. They manufacture the public consent necessary for the harsh sentences and the selective prosecution to continue unabated. They ensure that no one dares to question the foundational story that justifies the ongoing crackdown. The only way to achieve civil defiance is to recognize that both sides of this narrative war are fighting to control you. The committee, the counter committee, the selective leaks, the news subpoenas targeting political foes, it's all designed to keep the focus on the past, not on the present power grab. So, how do we fight the weaponization of history? First, demand full transparency now. Every single hour of that 40,000 plus hours of surveillance footage must be released immediately, unfiltered and unedited, to the American public. This is a public asset, paid for by taxpayers, and it is being held hostage by the Uni-Party to protect a political narrative. We demand the truth, even if it is messy, contradictory, and inconvenient to the established story. Second, separate justice from politics. We must demand a clear distinction between the actual violence, which should be prosecuted, and simple trespassing or disorderly conduct, which should be handled with proportionality and fairness. The political leaders who are using the DOJ as a private army must be held accountable. The use of federal agencies to suppress political opposition is the hallmark of a failing republic. Third, reject the permanent campaign. Turn off the news outlets that endlessly relitigate January 6th. The minute an event becomes a permanent fixture of the political debate, it has been weaponized as a distraction. Focus your attention and your energy on the present-day administrative state overreach and the erosion of your economic and personal liberties. Do not let the Uni-Party dictate where your outrage is directed. The power of a free people lies in their ability to know their own history, unvarnished and unmanipulated. The effort to control the story of January 6th is an effort to control your future. The Uni-Party cannot be allowed to use the memory of a single day to justify the death of freedom for the long haul. It is time to push back. It is time for civil defiance.